Well, hi there. I'm just curious, how many of you are Audio Engineering Society members? Yes, okay. Kudos to this side of the room. So I'm a governor at large for the Audio Engineering Society, and it's my pleasure to represent them here today. But I'm also, I'm a dabbler, so if we have any boy, is it Boy Scouts and Girl Guides, or is it? Yes. Okay, because in the U.S. it's Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Okay, so I was a Girl Scout, and I think if I was going to get a badge, it would have been the Dabbler badge. So I kind of consider myself an audio dabbler. So I was, I have to learn to where to point the thing. So I was born in a town called Dayton, Ohio. The reason I put the shape of the state of Ohio up there and the flag is because we're the only state that has a triangle flag, which I think makes us unique in the US of A. And of course, I'm from Dayton, Ohio. This is where the Wright brothers are from, birthplace of aviation. I know somebody out there will take me to task on that, I'm sure, over coffee or at the pub. But I got my undergrad degree at Indiana University. So what excited me about going to Indiana University, there's Indiana, that's where Bloomington is. Who's that? Who's that? Go Hoosiers. Yes, okay. Oh, you're Purdue? Ah, man, okay. Well, anyway, so they're from up the street. There's a rivalry there, friendly rivalry. So go Hoosiers. So when I went to school, I was interested in music technology. And the things that I learned in my undergraduate degree, I got an Associate of Science in Audio Technology because there were no bachelor's degrees in audio technology at that time. I'm that young. So this was in 1987. And so the things that I learned during my undergrad time was signal flow, music recording, razor blade editing, and I got my first start in radio. So they had a campus radio station there, WFIU-FM, and so that's where I got my start. Operating the radio board. I think I made $4.10 an hour. I got a raise and eventually earned $4.20 an hour. I know, it's enough to buy pizza once a week. And so then, but I took those skills with me, and I took those skills with me to National Public Radio, which is the United States counterpart to the BBC. So there's DC. It's a little diamond-shaped district in the middle of Maryland and Virginia, for those of you looking to learn a bit of United States geography. So I worked for National Public Radio. And I had my first transfer of skills. So does anybody know who this guy is? Todd Rundgren, yeah. So I'd been listening to his music for ages. He's actually one of the reasons I got into music technology in the first place, because he's an amazing producer and he's an amazing musician. And so I decided to interview him. And so the first thing I did when I got to NPR, of course, I wasn't doing interviews. I was operating this very old board. Even by 1991 standards, this was an ancient console. And so I was operating the board, but I heard how stories were being done, and I was thinking, you know, what would it take for me to do a story about Todd Rundgren? So I eventually figured it out. This is one of the performance studios that Russ Berger designed at National Public Radio. So we evolved from old technology to new technology, and at the same time I was hearing all the great programs thinking, well, how can I interview him? Well, he was coming out with a CD Interactive at the time. This was 1993, and he did an album called No World Order. And so I decided to try it on. How will I do being a radio producer? Well, let's listen to just a bit of that story.
Rock singer Todd Rundgren hit the top 10 21 years ago with this song.
Hello, it's me. I've thought about us for a long, long time.
Todd Rundgren has enjoyed few hits since Hello, It's Me, but he's still writing songs, and he's just released his 16th album. It's called No World Order, and this time Todd Rundgren is out for more than a hit single. Leslie Gaston reports.
There are actually 2 Todd Rundgren recordings out now. One is the regular CD or cassette you can buy in any record store. The other comes in a new format. It's called CDI, Compact Disc Interactive. Lundgren's is the first music recording to be released as an interactive CD. It contains the same songs as the regular CD, but to play the interactive disc, you need a CDI player. The device plugs into your stereo and television. Using a joystick, you move around a menu on the TV screen that allows you to select different functions. One of them is mood. So for instance, you could play all the songs from the record that are happy, or all of the sad songs.
Let's see what it picks if we want something thoughtful. Get thoughtful. There it goes. A little thoughtful music. Huh? Or how about some sad music? See what it comes up with.
But the machine does more than simply allow you to pick one.
All right, so it seems a little, I don't know what it seems like now, looking back on this something like 30 years later. The important thing about playing this story for you is I had to develop some new skills, so now I'm a producer. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like producing. I don't like hearing my own voice. I'm like, you know, just even listening to it now, like, I sound like a teenager. Why? But of course, I learned live broadcast engineering. But the cool thing about, I think, producing this album is I'm learning how to tell a story, mixing music, and not stopping a beat, which was true to the album itself. So, you know, I have to create a seamless bed of music under there, and I think I did a pretty darn good job, but I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be a producer, but it was a lot of fun. So I tried that on, and in order to do that, I had to be pretty brave. My editor at the time was Tom Coles, and Tom Coles is a pretty cool guy, but he's also, you know, a stickler for detail, and so that was, you know, I'm a sensitive person, a sensitive gal, and I didn't dig it. So, but those were two other skills that I picked up in addition to engineering. Well, I got tired of Washington, D.C., so I decided to make a move, and so I moved to Colorado. Shame on me for using black on blue print, but it says I moved to Colorado in 1995. It was 31 hours worth of driving. So I took all my stuff, packed it in a car, and drove over 3 days. It took us 9 hours to get to Ohio, another 9 to get to Missouri, and like 11 to get to Colorado. And I slept for 2 days after we got there. But I became the audio systems manager at Colorado Public Radio. Now this was very interesting. This was what the control room looked like back then. I don't know if next gen, the Prophet systems ever made it to the UK. But Prophet was a crazy thing. This is what the audio editor looked like in Prophet, which was just silly because by this time we had Pro Tools. So, you know, why are we messing around with this? So, you know, it's like totally reinventing the wheel, why they had to do this. But in this situation, I learned about clocks. And it was really interesting learning about clocks. Between the years of 1995 and 2002, two major things happened in the United States, and Colorado in particular. In 1999, we had the Columbine shooting, which was a very serious tragedy. It happened within 8 miles of the station, and so it was serious because there were parents of those kids who actually listened to our signal, who were looking for information, and so I had to play a role in helping our broadcast engineers and our program directors sort of figure out at the time, like, do we do breaking news? Because this, you know, this is pretty much breaking news, so how do we change who we are right now? And so that involved something. And the other one, of course, was 9/11. And so when I was a broadcast engineer for 9/11, it just, I think we had these broadcast clocks that we had set up with spot blocks and legal IDs and everything, and it's just like, we don't have clocks now. You know, we're reporting live and there's no clock, and just make sure you say the legal ID once an hour. So that was a really major challenge being an audio systems manager when something amazing happens. So you have to learn how to be flexible, adaptable, and not to get stressed out when breaking news is happening, because all of a sudden that's the mode. But I did have some fun. On a lighter note, I got to go exercise my powers of troubleshooting, signal flow, producing, all of that stuff as I accompanied one of our reporters
in a Cessna airplane to survey oil fields. So this story focused on the fact that people have these oil pits that they're not covering. And it's a problem for geese because geese get trapped in the oil thinking that it's a lake or something. So this was interesting. Number one, I had to figure out how I was going to record on an airplane. And of course, they use these old intercom things. It's not, I'm not going to hold a shotgun microphone on an airplane. You're just going to, you're not going to hear any speech. So I had to plug into the the headset. Unfortunately, our chief engineer at the time, I was audio systems manager, had a box of cables. And I'm just like, I will take the box and just see, just see what goes in. I got the right recording and I plugged it into my DAT recorder, and this is what we got.
Let's go fly. Let's do it.
You're on. Rock clear. Okay, we'll taxi on now. We're using a Cessna 182. It is the best airplane for this type of work. It has plenty of power when you need it at a low level, and yet it's not too expensive to rent and ideal for this type of work.
Does this flight come with a complimentary beverage service?
We've just got some peanuts and a Coke for you. Front range traffic, 3 Juliet Mike, rolling on 26, be a left turn out to the south. Front range. Front range traffic, 768, Quebec, turning crosswind, runway 26, front range. We're looking at a few oil wells, Dan, over here on the left.
Why are these oil bits out here?
Well, we...
Okay, it's right about there. I do a nice fade. Yeah. So now I have, adding to my arsenal of skills, I have all this other stuff. I much more enjoyed having somebody else produce a story and to have me be in charge of the technical part of it. And what I have seen since I left Colorado Public Radio is people are trying to do producing and engineering on their own, and I'm just thinking to myself, it's crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you not have a crew of people do something? Because it's a lot easier. And then, but here's what I've got: signal flow, music recording, razor blade editing, radio board operating, producing, live broadcast engineering, audio systems management, audio post-production, restoration, research, education, multi-channel audio. I've got some slides out of order. I'm just going to march through this really quick because in 2002, I decided I wanted to try and add sound to picture. And so when I did that, I went to work for a company called Postmodern Company. And the reason I got out of radio is because somewhere around 2002, all my disc jockey friends were losing work because voice tracking was becoming in vogue. Reporters were doing their own producing. I'm sitting here babysitting clocks. This is not why I got into this field, so I decided to pursue a job in post. And I've been doing post-production ever since. And then I got a master's degree in recording arts at the University of Colorado, Denver. And this is where I spent about 13 years from 2005 to 2018. I was getting my master's degree while I was at Postmodern, and I started learning more stuff like research education and multi-channel audio. In fact, my scholarly career has included a bunch of stuff. I wrote a bunch. I wrote so much. I have articles in journals, and I have articles in conferences. I went to conferences like this one, and I went to Germany. I went all over the world, and I was talking. And then I thought to myself, let's move to England. And woo, so now I'm 50 years old now, and so I live in England with my husband, who's actually British, and so I bring all this stuff with me to a new country, and it's been really interesting being a 50-year-old woman without a job, let me tell you. But look, I'm just saying, all this stuff allows me to freelance. So just in case you're wondering, I do freelance now. I worked on a film called A Feral World. I'm also working on a really cool film called Rent-A-Pal. And I'm getting a lot of satisfaction from working at home in multi-channel surround.
And I think what allows me to do that and still be marketable is look at all the stuff I know. You know, I know customer service, I know student counseling, collaboration on film, collaboration, troubleshooting, attention to detail. You have to do that when you're in radio. Obviously, restoring films, safety, how to be safe. Did I mention I got air sick on the Cessna flight? I was so green. Just felt like peeking. Meeting deadlines, time management, and the gentle art of persuasion. I think it's time we upgrade to Pro Tools Ultimate, don't you? And these are the reasons why, and so you have to make the case for all this stuff. Networking with the Audio Engineering Society, and of course, mentoring is something I love doing. So this is actually not as much about me as it is about you. I'm just trying to show you that from a career in radio, and from a desire to sort of get out of radio, you have to get out of your comfort zone. If you move to a new country, and you guys know this, you have to get out of your comfort zone. There's so many cool things and so many cool people I've met that make it easier. So you don't have to be scared. I don't think you have to be afraid. So Audio Engineering Society, of course, I'm represented on the Board of Governors there. And these are my colleagues who I adore. They're just really cool people. And we're a supportive network of people. I also enjoy, mentoring. This is a student of mine who's just killing it. I just love it when students are ambitious. And then Women in Audio panel. Some other things I've been doing, this is my Mixed Messiah Productions is freelance. I also made it into the Recording Academy, so I'm now voting for the Grammys, and I'm on the Producers and Engineers wing for the Recording Academy. Just wrote a book called Women in Audio. And to bring this on home, I thought maybe I'd tell you about a couple of women in audio who have made that made the leap to transfer their skills from one field to another. Anastasia Devana gave the keynote at the AES Augmented and Virtual Audio for Virtual and Augmented Reality conference recently, and she got her start playing metal, like metal, hardcore metal music, and then she got into web design, and then she got into games. Right? The woman here. With a device on her arm, she's Pamela Z. She's an electronic musician. We were actually in Colorado at the same time. She's only a couple of years older than me. And she worked also at KGNU in Boulder doing radio board operations. So she made the jump into performance art, and now she's a well-renowned, if you look up Pamela Z, she's doing stuff, amazing stuff all over the world. I think she got a fellowship in Rome. Fela Davis actually went the other way. They went into podcasting. So Fela Davis started out, I think she went to Full Sail. She's actually in the Full Sail Hall of Fame. She met her partner from Kazakhstan, was it, I think? And they went into business together. She says it's the most unlikely pairing ever, but they're rocking it. She's super ambitious. They do a lot of product endorsements for Focusrite and for Ear Trumpet Labs and a whole bunch of other manufacturers. And they have a podcast, so they're doing their podcast, Making Music Live. And then Jet Galindo at the bakery. I just love the fact that she's holding vinyl here. So, of course, there's a resurgence of vinyl. And I think the cool thing about Jet is that she's so giving of her time. She loves to mentor. She does a lot of stuff with Sound Girls. And she writes a lot of articles about the mastering process. And she I think she did a really long article about isotopes mastering stuff. And so I wrote this book, which was amazing. I got to meet so many awesome women. Ann Charles is in the book. And there's a section on broadcast engineering in there as well. And all of that to say, you can do something other than radio if you so choose. It might be a little scary, it might be a little daunting, but you've got tons and tons of skills that I bet you didn't even realize. That's my time. That's how to find me. And that's a beautiful view of Colorado.